I decided to go ahead and give myself all the powers of the true Phoenix Force, and I also gave myself all the powers of Tornado of Terror, Martian Manhunter, Franklin Richards, and right after I took all those powers into myself, it became easier to do everything with my mind using my one above all powers. I gave myself the strongest psionic abilities in existence, and it reinforced my brain, making it invincible. And because I now have all the powers of the strongest psionics, I was now over 1 billion times smarter than I was before, and I can move planets and bring the dead back to life much easier and do things that no other human can do in my world. And since I have the powers of One Punch Man, my abilities go beyond every multiverse, amplifying everything 1 billion-fold. And since I have the powers of the one above all, I have unmatched skills and experience also for all of my powers and abilities, and I could now even feel All For One's powers, and I decided to give myself all his powers because I'm taking away Tamura Shigaraki's powers too, and I'm also getting rid of All For One quickly before he becomes a bigger threat. Meanwhile, everyone in Class 1A finished their hero versus villains training exercise, and after me and Katsuki Bakugo had our babies, Katsuki Bakugo went home to our new apartment I have set up right across from my parents' apartment, and I decided to put a type of invincible shield on my entire family just to protect them all from everything. I even made the shield self-aware so it doesn't react against good people, which means no one will ever know there's a shield in place for my family until it finally protects my family from threats like villains or even car accidents or natural disasters. I actually have a shield like this around me at all times, which is why death can't touch me, and people like All For One will never be able to penetrate it either. And after taking our babies home to our nice apartment where I made a new baby room for all our children, and I even got baby cribs for all our babies, and I even got plenty of baby supplies and accessories for babies, and I decided to clone myself using my one above all powers. I wanted to do this for Katsuki Bakugo so I could always be there for her and our children, and then I kissed Katsuki Bakugo on the forehead while she was sleeping in her new bed, and then I said, now I will never leave you alone, and there will always be a piece of me with you no matter what. And then Katsuki asked me, what are you talking about, nerd? And she opened her eyes and saw 2 of me standing beside her new comfortable king-size bed, and she asked me, Deku, what's going on? And then I said, don't worry, he's a perfect clone of myself and he can do everything I can do. He's going to stay with you and help you and the children and protect you while I do other important things like my job as a hero. For example, I'm sorry baby, you know as well as I do I can't always be here, and this is the best way that I know how to deal with this situation. And then Katsuki Bakugo said, I'm actually relieved that you have this power because I was getting worried for a second there, wondering how you're going to deal with everything by yourself and take care of our children. And then I told Katsuki Bakugo that I've reinforced our new apartment like an invincible bunker, and there's even generators in here, and the door on our apartment entrance can also be controlled remotely, and it can be activated only by you and me in our family. No one else can get inside our apartment, and I've bought plenty of supplies for our children just in case anything happens to me. And then Katsuki Bakugo asked me, Deku, you're starting to worry me, what are you going to do? And then I said, well, I'm going to save this world and all of its people, and I'm also putting all the worst villains in prison, and I'm going to do all this soon just because I can, but I don't know what will happen to me. My future is uncertain as far as I can see. And then Katsuki Bakugo said, just make sure you come back home alive to me, you big dummy. And then I said, I will, silly girl, I love you, Katsuki Bakugo. And then she said, I love you too. And then I told my clone to take care of her and protect her and our children. And then the female Katsuki Bakugo started to cry and said to me, why does it sound like you're saying goodbye? And then I said, I'm not saying goodbye, I just want you to be prepared if I ever have to leave for a while, because that kind of thing happens sometimes, especially with people like me, but I'll always be here in one form or another. And then I decided to go back to UA High School where I knew that everyone else was still training after school, and I went to Minetta's apartment and I knocked on his door and he answered, and I asked him, are you ready to have some more fun again? And then he said, yes, definitely. And then I said, Minetta, we are going to walk into the girls' locker room where all the beautiful girls from Class 1A and Class 1B are undressing.